Ann Martin, welcome to CKUT Radio.
Thank you very much for having me.
How are you down in Ontario?
Wonderful. The weather is beautiful.
I imagine that you're a bit busy. You are the author of two books. The first one, Food Pets Die For, Shocking Facts About Pet Food, which came out in 1997 on New Sage Press. And you followed that up in 2001 with Protect Your Pet, More Shocking Facts, again on New Sage Press. Can you just take my listeners back to when you first got interested in what was in pet food?
Yes, and may I add that the updated, revised edition of Food Pets Die For came out in 2003, and another one is coming out this fall. But basically this started back in 1990 when I had two large dogs that became ill after eating a pet food they had eaten for 5 years previous. It was a new bag which I had just opened, and within an hour and a half, both dogs were vomiting and drinking excess amounts of water. I spoke to our veterinarian, and he advised cooking for them, ground beef, brown rice, and vegetables. I did, and both dogs were fine. When I went back to the commercial food, same thing happened. I guess it was then that I began to question who oversees this industry. There must be someone you can lay a complaint with. It was only then that I realized this is virtually a self-regulated industry. Other than the Labeling Act, there are no regulations as far as the ingredients in the pet foods.
Now, as some of my listeners know, there was recently a major recall and was involved with Menu Foods, which is a core producer of food for many different brands who slap their own labels onto food. I just want you to speak about, first of all, your reaction to that recall, and are you is the media responding by asking you questions, or do you feel like the message is getting out that there's a problem with our pet food?
Oh, there's no doubt the message is getting out. I have had the phone ringing off the wall with media for the since this recall happened. The thing is, this recall it's a large one, it's a massive one, but we see recalls of pet foods almost every year because of some form of contamination. Usually it is a dry pet food, and it's contaminated with a mycotoxin, which is from moldy grains that are used in the product. But this one, it's been harder to track down exactly what it might have been in the food that caused and is causing all the deaths and illnesses in the pets. And I'm sure we're going to see the numbers rise to over 1,000 in this case.
So let's talk about just what is in pet food. And your books go deeply into this subject. You've already said that it's not regulated at all. So does that mean that they can actually put anything they want into it?
Anything, and it is perfectly legal. If a label on a food states that it contains 21% protein, it must contain that level. But the source of the protein can be anything. And naturally, these companies look for the cheapest source of ingredients they can find. And I know if meat meal is on a can, that can be anything from diseased material from slaughterhouse facilities, roadkill, zoo animals. And I was to find right here in the city where I live that our companion animals picked up from vet clinics, shelters, were being picked up by a dead stock removal company. They were sent to a broker in Peterborough, Ontario, and from there they were shipped to a rendering plant in Quebec. Now, the Ministry of Agriculture in Quebec did tell me that these dogs and cats were rendered along with all the other material, and the raw material was then shipped to other pet food companies.
So if somebody doesn't request a cremation process, then and they have basically the veterinarian take care of their animal, that animal ends up rendered into pet food?
It could very well. The veterinarians in London, where I live, after this came out, switched to a facility that does cremate them. but the veterinarians had assumed that the company that was picking them up was indeed cremating them, when in fact they were being shipped to rendering plants.
And do you know of like a percentage of how many, what is the percentage of actual pets in our pet food?
I have no idea. It would be a small percentage, though, given the other materials that are also rendered along with companion animals. You have to remember the size of a dog or a cat as compared to a cow or a pig or even a horse.